positions of terrorist militias in the western district of Benghazi city, resulting in human casualties and material losses. A military source said the Air Force bombed a terrorist militia's bulldozer near Mirissa Port, western Benghazi, adding that the military forces besieged Mirissa Port 3 weeks ago, and sporadic clashes took place near the port to drain the terrorist militia there. Commander of the Air Force, Sakr al-Jiroushi, said the aircraft launched an airstrike on the Greek ship because it ignored the warning of the Air Force. Moreover, al-Jiroushi said the ship didn't raise any hallmark and continued as it approached the third port, prompting the Air Force to deal with it. Al-Jiroushi asserted that the Air Force gave the Greek ship a chance to assess the situation, but the aircraft attacked the ship after it began to get down the terrorist elements and weapons. Military Engineering Department of Armed Forces succeeded to dismantle 2 homemade explosive devices, each weighing 25 kilograms, in a house close to the pasta factory in Benghazi. Spokesman for the military engineering, Siraj Tira, noted that members of the military engineering have found the 2 explosives during bombing the sites controlled by the Arab-Libyan armed forces in the Lion Grip operation. The spokesman added that the military engineering teams continue extensive bombing operating with less available capabilities. A medical source at Al-Gala Hospital stressed that the hospital received 4 martyrs and 3 injured people during 2 days of fighting that took place in Benghazi city. The source noted that the hospital received 2 martyrs and 7 wounded people from As-Sabri and Suq al-Hud district, while another injured soldier died during receiving treatment in the intensive care at Al-Gala Hospital. The hospital also received a martyr and 6 injured people from Al-Lithi and As-Sabri districts. 2 brothers were killed and 2 others injured by a bomb blast on their home in Zawiya city, west of the Libyan capital Tripoli. For his part, the commander of Zawiya Protection Joint Force, Muhammad Bilhaj, stressed that the grenade explosions on a house in Zawiya city killed and wounded 4 brothers, adding that 2 children were transferred to the intensive care of the city hospital, while bodies of the other 2 children were buried after getting a foresting permit. Still, Libya investigation units of illegal immigration department in Benghazi succeeded in arresting 15 illegal immigrants. Spokesman for the illegal immigration department, Walid El-Afri, said the arrest process has been implemented in collaboration with the military institution elements and army units in Benghazi city. The spokesman added that immigrants of different nationalities were transferred to Tokra housing center to be deported to their countries. Media sources in Malta reported that the African Airlines company headed by Abu Bakr Al-Fortiya established a branch of a company in Malta with a new name to circumvent the EU's decision to ban the Libyan Airlines from flying in its airspace. The sources added that the branch was established as a new company with name Ban Africa. This company is to carry out maintenance services and air transport operations. The company license allows the registration of aircraft in Europe, a measure that facilitates entry of African flights fleet with another name to the European airspace. 3 Somali refugees were killed and several others wounded by mortars fired by the terrorist Houthi group on Al-Basati neighborhood in Aden. This came as the Saudi forces continues to bombard the strongholds of Houthi rebels in Najran and Jizan districts on border with Yemen. In another development, Yemeni opposition took control of several Houthi militias' military sites in Ad-Dala city, south of Yemen, killing and wounding several people. And now from Riyadh accused both Iran and Lebanon's Hezbollah that they were behind the bombing of Imam Ali bin Abi Talib Mosque in Qadah village in the eastern province that left at least 20 wounded and dozens wounded. The security spokesman for the Saudi Interim Ministry, Major General Mansour al-Taruqi, said that the prospect of a relationship between the bombing and Iran and Hezbollah is possible, stressing that the result of investigations into the two cases are still ongoing. Geneva conference about Yemen officials said that the UN-sponsored peace talks to be held in Geneva on May 28 had been postponed. Yemen's government in Saudi Arabia, led by Hadi, has demanded the Houthis recognize its authority and withdraw from the Yemen's main cities, 2 points demanded by the UN Security Council resolutions last month. Sultan At-Tawini and to Hadi said the Geneva meeting has been indefinitely postponed because the Houthis didn't indicate their commitment to implement the Security Council resolution. He added that the attacks on Aden, Taiz, Dala and Shabwa makes it difficult to go to Geneva. However, the UN spokesman in Geneva, Ahmed Fawaz, said that he couldn't confirm the reports of a delay to talks, saying that plans were still underway for negotiations to start on Thursday. U.S. Vice President Joe Biden reassured Iraqi Prime Minister Haidar al-Abadi of the U.S. commitment to the Iraqi fight against extremist Daesh militants today after the U.S. Defense Chief questions Iraqi troops will to fight. The White House said in a statement that Biden used a call to reaffirm the U.S. support for the Iraqi government fights against terrorist Daesh militants. U.S. Defense Secretary of Ash Carter told CNN yesterday that Iraqi forces showed no will to fight against terrorist Daesh militants during the fall of Ramadi a week ago, and U.S. forces were trying to encourage them to engage more directly. Thousands of displaced Iraqis head to Baghdad across the Euphrates River after the government waived entry restrictions that had kept out scores of people fleeing the violence around Ramadi. Thousands of displaced people fleeing Ramadi and the violence in western Anbar province are heading towards Baghdad at last. This after the government waived entry restrictions and agreed to allow people in and on condition that each family had a sponsor. Many of the Ramadi's displaced residents were initially stopped from entering Baghdad province because the government feared militants might be mingling with the incoming crowds. Anti-austerities party celebrates as Spain's ruling party suffers worst local elections results in 20 years. Supporters of Spain's anti-austerities political party celebrated in the streets of Madrid after local elections saw the ruling of People's Party PP handed its worst defeat in more than 20 years. Members of Bidum's or Weycam party said the results signified voters' desire for a change. Although the conservative ruling PP did well more votes than any other party, it and the rival socialist fell short of overall majorities in most areas. The country has virtually no traditions in compromise politics in the PP, and socialists have alternative power since the end of dictatorship 40 years ago. The two parties will now have to negotiate coalitions with minority parties ahead of November general elections. And now from Burundi, Burundi's opposition boycotted peace talks with the government today in protest at the killing of an opposition leader, despite UN-led calls for dialogue to end a month of protest and violence in the east of African countries. A presidential spokesman said some opposition and civil society groups started withdrawing from the talks yesterday. The West pulled out today in protest at assassination of the opposition leader, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and others have condemned the killing by unidentified gunmen on Saturday of Zidi Firizi, whose small UPD party is part of a wider opposition that says the president is breaking the two-term limit set down in the constitution. Moreover, right groups said at least 20 people have died since protests broke out on April 26, a day after President Nkurunziza announced that he would seek a third 5-year term. And now from Japan, Japan's meteorological agency said an earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 5.6 shook Tokyo and surrounding areas today, but no tsunami warning was issued. The quake was centered in Abarak Prefecture, just northeast of Japanese capital. There were no immediate reports of damage or injuries and no report of abnormalities at any nuclear facilities. The U.S. Geological Survey measured the quake at 5.3 magnitude. Narita Airport closed both runway for checks shortly after the quake, but the capital's Haneda Airport was operating as normal. On March 11, 2011, Japan was hit with a massive earthquake and tsunami that left nearly 20,000 people dead and set off meltdowns at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant. Indian officials said today that heat waves claimed 28 lives in India's eastern state of Odisha, where the temperature has been recorded between 40 and 46 degrees Celsius in the past few days. Today, the mercury soared to 45.4 degrees Celsius in the capital city, whereas yesterday it was recorded to be at 46 degrees Celsius for above at 6 places and over 40 degrees Celsius at 16 places across the state. The Deputy Relief Commissioner said extensive arrangements have been made by the government to tackle the situation. Meanwhile, the director of meteorological department said the tendency of rising temperature of heat wave condition would continue for another 4 or 5 days. My audience, that is the wrap-up of our top stories for today. For much more, you can check our website www.watalkarama.tv. My best wishes, Rania Al-Bilidi.